Hello, I wanted to come back a few days later to conclude this microgreen series and talk to you just a little bit about harvest, timing, and procedure. So these trays in front of me were actually seeded. You saw them seeded. It's been about 10 days since we did that initial seeding. Now these are summertime conditions with ideal light, ideal temperature, so you may not see this rate of growth, but it's a good opportunity to kind of talk about how mature we would typically wait until the microgreens were if we were going to harvest. And one indicator that we often use would be beginning to see the appearance of true leaves. And so here we have some turnips, we have some arugula, and we're starting to see these true leaves appear between the cotyledons. That's a good sign. We can use it as an indicator, but also keep in mind that when you decide to harvest, it's up to you as the eater, right? And so you can harvest at a more immature stage. Some people prefer more or fewer cotyledons or true leaves as a taste preference, but it also has to do with yield, right? So the earlier you harvest, the lower volume of yield you will get per the seeding area. If you wait a little bit longer, you'll get a little bit more yield, but you may run more risk of having disease, right? Because these plants are growing very close together, and so the larger they get, the more chance you have of moisture getting trapped and having disease in close together. So keep that in mind. And we talked a little bit about it when we talked about seeding rate, because these are seeded pretty closely. And so this is probably better for a more immature harvest. If we wanted these to get larger, I would have wanted to include more airspace. So here we have some mustard, we have some broccoli, this is red cabbage, we have some kale, so these are growth of the warm season crops. The herbs didn't germinate quite as well. The cilantro is coming on a little bit slower. I think the seed may have not been quite as fresh, so we want high quality seed and good growing conditions. Over here we have the warm season crops. You can see the basil, it's both a red and a green mixed together. This is amaranth. And so oftentimes the basil will be a little bit slower growing. We're just starting to see the true leaves appear on that basil. This was a mixture over here of different brassica crops. And so the other thing that I wanted to show you when it comes to timing is, of course, that your growing environment has a lot to do with the growth and productivity of this crop. These were seeded on the same day. They are the same brassica crop, but this small growing container I actually had in my windowsill at home, and you can see the light conditions were not quite as ideal. The plants themselves are stretched a little bit more. The cotyledons are smaller. They're not as dark green, so you can kind of use the plant itself and its appearance as an indicator not only of when to harvest, but also of whether the conditions that you're providing are ideal. So that's a little bit about timing. Now let's get down to business and simply do a little bit of harvesting. We want to make sure throughout this process that we are practicing good food safety. We talked about bottom watering, keep those plants dry. Anytime we are eating a fresh crop like this, we can't completely eliminate all food safety risks, but we want to be as clean and careful as possible, right? So I'm wearing gloves, I'm reducing human touch, trying to keep these plants dry. So there are things we can do. So we have a clean work surface, we have clean hands, we have clean tools. And what I'm going to do as far as harvesting is simply just cut as close as I can to that substrate without running the risk of bringing any media over. Oh, there's a little root with a little bit of substrate there, so I'm going to trim that off. And I'm just going to simply make those clean, concise cuts. Of course, on a small scale, you can simply use scissors or kitchen shears. On a very larger scale, you could size up your cutting instruments if necessary. Taller stems are certainly easier to cut. Sometimes our basil is one that we say has very short stems, and so that's a reason why we always try to fill our containers up to the top of the substrate, because basil can be a little bit more challenging to harvest. So you can see we're simply just cutting and trying to not mix any media or substrate with that. We can simply then wash and use these as necessary for a whole range of soups, sandwiches, salads. These could be stored for a few days. especially the cool season crops under good refrigerated conditions. Basil doesn't store as well because it's chilling sensitive. However, keep in mind that storage is not necessary because many times you can just harvest sequentially as you need it, right? So don't feel that you have to harvest the whole growing container, just harvest what you need for what you're eating right now. That's the benefit of home microgreens growing. So I hope that you've enjoyed this kind of quick introduction to microgreens. I encourage you to try a range of crops in some different seasons and different growing environments to get the feel for it. And all the best for using microgreens in your own garden and kitchen. And thanks for tuning in to our virtual field day. We hope to see you soon in a live or another virtual event. Thanks so much.